Hey, it is just a huge honor today to be podcast interviewing Laura Maly and Michael Anderson from the Wonderist Agency. I called these kids, they didn't call me. I'm a big fan of your posts on Dentaltown. And then I went to your website and you have a YouTube video of a dentist saying, well, I was searching on Dentaltown and I found, and then the next guy says, well, I was searching online. It's like, damn it, you were searching on Dentaltown. Why did you say online? But big fan of you guys. Taking on the stale industry of dental marketing dominated by a one-size-fits-all approach, Laura Maly and Michael Anderson are the young duo behind Wondrous Agency, a full-service marketing agency for dentists. A niche still crowded by old dudes with dated ideas. She's talking about me, I'm sure. Laura and Michael are emerging in dental marketing as the new fresh kids on the block with an approach that is so personalized you think they'd work in your office. Hear them discuss the importance of reviews to your practice, the common mistakes, and how you can leverage them into more new patients each month. And I think you should email me, howard@dentaltown.com, those two YouTube videos, and we should plug them at the end of this because they were very, very well done. So my first question is, so I take it you two are, you have different, Laura Maly and Michael Anderson, but I get the feeling that you might be an item or a couple?
We are getting married on October 6th of this year here in San Diego.
Don't do it. See, when you date him, he has to earn every date. As soon as he has the contract, he just thinks that you have to show up.
I think it's the opposite in our relationship.
It's the opposite.
Just because she said yes, don't hold it against her.
Yeah.
I'm a lucky guy.
Well, it's always a red flag when she loves her dog more than you. That is always a red flag.
You haven't seen the dog. It's a cute dog.
Show me the dog.
I have one dog here.
Or did he
I'll show you my favorite dog. She's napping on the couch right now.
Come on, Cuppy.
Her name is Cupcake.
I love on your website how you, under all the staff, you even include your three dogs.
Puppy's the favorite dog of the group.
That's the favorite dog of the year. That is awesome.
Smartest dog of the group.
She's not the smartest dog in the group. But
I know.
Very
I
loving.
have to tell you, at today's dental, we don't do that because of germs and disease and all that stuff. I don't know OSHA, but when you go to Dentaltown, I mean, half the time I walk in there, there's a dog or two running around. So let's start off with the deal. Talk us through your journey. How did you guys decide to start Wondrous Agency?
Yeah. About 5.5 years ago, I was working for the movies at Sony Pictures Entertainment, and I was doing a lot of their local marketing. And I had a friend of mine who had graduated from Marquette Dental School, and he was opening a practice, and he signed a contract with one of our now competitors, and he kind of called me in a panic, and he said, I think I made a mistake. Can you look at this for me and let me know your thoughts? And I looked at it, and I was like, uh-oh. And it was a lot of under delivery, a lot of promises that were empty, and it was just incredibly costly. And so he was like, you should do this, we should do this. And sort of this idea was born that, we think doctors, we hear it time and time again, is that they have a part-time or a full-time job managing all of their vendors. And they've got their SEO guy, they've got their direct mail guy, they've got their website guy. And why don't you just bring it all together for the greater benefit of your practice and your marketing strategy, and have you talk to one person? Seems like a reasonable thing.
And I think the other thing that's really helped us there is that when you have all these, sort of individual vendors, like Laura said, someone that does your website, someone that does your SEO, someone that does your direct mail, very rarely will one of them come to you and say, hey, you know what, we've been watching the campaign. We don't think that it's working for you. We really should do something else. And as marketers, the first thing that we talk to all our clients about is that not everything we do works. We don't hit a home run every time. So being able to take a full service approach lets us actually look at the bottom line, which is new patients coming in the door, and say, what campaigns are driving those new patients and what aren't, so we can quickly cut the ones that aren't and focus our efforts and marketing dollars in areas that actually are meaningful. So I think that has really been kind of a refreshing thought in the marketing space. The last thing that I would add that really gave us a big kick in the butt to do what we do today is we were shocked with the design and the aesthetic that was rampant in the dental marketing space, and I think still is. It's a lot of templates, a lot of stock images of grandma and grandpa sitting in a field, and so this is something we'll talk a little bit more about later. But for us, we looked at the cool new farm-to-table restaurant or barbershop opening up. They had beautiful websites that represented the space and the people. and what was actually, happening, what the experience was. And dental offices, just put this facade up oftentimes online through the marketing companies they work with, that you don't learn anything about them. And so that's really been something that we've worked hard to change in providing personalized, customized design that speaks to the practices.
So when you said barbershop, was that just a passive aggressive dig at me?
I'm
I thought you were going to say barbershop and weight loss clinics. And
going to
but
take, I can get them.
well, I love dentists. I mean, I love my profession. I mean, dentists, they're all big readers. Every time I spend the night in a dentist's house, they got 100 nonfiction books. If they're not a dentist, physician, or lawyer, they got People Magazine and 50 Shades of Grey. I love my homies, but the problem with dentists is they love dentistry. I mean, they want to do root canals and implants and crowns, and they don't want to do this business stuff. And that they now have serious competitors. I mean, is corporate dentistry taking what you do serious? I mean, if they don't find some outsourcing to get on the level of a Heartland, a Pacific Dental Care, an Aspen Dental, they're going to have their lunch handed to them.
Yeah, I mean,
do you agree with that or not really?
Yeah, I mean, we see the market space is increasingly, more and more crowded, and I think that as you have new practices, whether it's scratch or transition practices or practices that have been around for 10, 15, 20 years, looking at new patient numbers and feeling that they're flat or they're declining, and they look out at the competitive landscape, there are more and more people investing in marketing, whether it's updating their site. So, it's something that really attracts people and makes them pick up the phone, or whether it's, just, traditional marketing placement. That could be digital ads, that could be, mailers. So yes, absolutely. I think that you see some of these larger practices, certainly larger groups, being more and more aggressive in capturing that market share. And so
and they get so many efficiencies in what they do,
absolutely.
because they can group purchase media, they can group purchase product, they can group purchase everything. And so obviously they're flooding the market with efficiencies that are difficult to possess for a small practice. So making sure that you're competitive, that you're staying at the top of your search results, that you are active in your community, no matter what it is, you have to obviously go shoulder to shoulder with these guys.
And I realize that it's frustrating for small practices because 20 years ago, marketing was taboo. I mean, you'd get your name on your dental school's wall of shame if you were taking out a Yellow Pages ad. And so much has changed that, you really do have to find the channels that work for you. Not every town and not every market is the same. Sometimes you'll see a market skew more traditional with direct mail, just more print ad placement. And then you look at sort of, other markets that are maybe more urban, more dense, more transient, more young. And it's all digital. People are looking at Yelp reviews. They're searching online, so it really depends on where you are and what your market is. And so I think that's really the approach that we take with our clients.
Ryan, I just got the greatest idea for a podcast. You said it was taboo. So I'm old enough to be your dad. I got out here in '87. It was actually Arizona. It was 2 lawyers in Tucson. Dentists, physicians, lawyers, advertising was against the law. And 2 lawyers in Tucson sued, and it worked its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And they were saying, look, it's free speech. We have the right to talk. And it was in 1973 in the state of Arizona, and it appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so it wasn't until 73 until it was even legal. And I'll tell you, a lot of dentists around the world have gotten in trouble on Dentaltown because they listen to all this marketing stuff, and they start doing it in Hong Kong or Romania or whatever. And the next thing you know, the government's knocking on their door telling them this is absolutely legal. So I want to, and I also want to say something. An old timer. I want to take a dig at the millennials. They always hate direct mail, but that's because they have a bias. They hate junk mail. They hate going to their mailbox. They hate picking up all this stuff and carrying to the trash can. But I know a lot of old timers like me who still do direct mail, and it works. So so a millennial wants to build their whole practice on Facebook. And it's like, dude, I bet you direct mail in your zip code works better in Facebook. And I also bet it could be different in Parsons, Kansas than in San Diego.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, we can make the phone ring like it's nobody's business in some of these markets using direct mail. And we have millennial dentists who do tons of direct mail and see excellent success with it. I don't think it works for every market, like we said, but I mean, I certainly have nothing against it.
Yeah, I mean,
so when you say you can make the phone ring off the wall, what is the major difference in the United States? Is it more just like rural, urban? Is it West Coast, East Coast? How would you describe? Because I hate the term the United States of America. Because when you go to Europe, no one says I live in the EU. Because nobody would compare Germany to Greece or Portugal to Denmark. And I
Right.
don't know how you compare Alaska to Kansas or Miami to Kansas City. I mean, the United States is really a dozen countries flying under one flag, even
Yeah.
economically.
Yeah. I think for me, the two biggest insights are household income and age of the household.
All right, so tell me how those variables affect direct mail. Household income. Higher the income, the less direct mail, or the
And it depends, you know,
so
and
if
I
you're
would say
high
also
income,
the kind of the piece. So, I mean, if you are a cosmetic dentist and you want to do, you know, you want to be doing full mouth restorations, or you are an implant dentist and that's all you want to do all day, every day, then you may consider sending out something a little more sexy. Maybe it's a trifold. Maybe it's a nice, you know, big folder that has an introduction to who you are and an introduction to the practice and really deep specifics on services. That may do very, very well. What we do most of is we do a lot of new patient specials, or, you know, maybe something Invisalign or whitening, but I don't even think those do as well. And you're looking at like a, you know, little smaller than 8.5 by 11 kind of thing that we can ship very cost efficiently through Every Door direct mail, which is the Postal Service direct mail program, or something like Velasas, which is the corporate owner of Red Plum and the Penny Saver. And you can get a lot of efficiency out of something like that, and it can go a long way for the cost. And you can prospect with a nice new patient special. And I'm not saying a, you know, $20 new patient exam, cleaning, x-rays, and treatment plan. I'm saying like $100 or $120 or maybe even $200, something that shows value, that doesn't say I'm not taking the race to the bottom on offers, but I want to show you that I create value in my community and that you can say, okay, this feels like a fair price for somebody who's uninsured.
man, I haven't heard the word penny saver in 25 years. Is that
I know,
thing still
right?
out there?
No, so it's the corporate holding group, and they do their direct mail a little bit differently. They don't bundle it in the penny saver, as you might get that, you know, the light newspaper that's got all the coupons for the grocery store and tire changes and whatever. They deliver it in a way that they package it on top of, so it comes on top of with your electric bill, your cable bill, whatever. It does not look like it is part of it.
So you're using their distribution
You're using their
network,
distribution.
And the company's called Velasas?
Yeah,
Velasas?
VAL.
VALSI. VAL.
VALIS. Oh, wait, shoot, now you're screwing me up. VALASSIS. I think.
Wow, I haven't heard the penny. I think I was still living in Kansas when I heard that last. You said something extremely profound at the beginning that these young kids got to comprehend. You started a business because a friend of yours was a dentist and was demanding a service, so you supplied the service and realized there's a business in there. And so
Yep.
many of these kids are looking at, well, should I learn Invisalign, sleep apnea, place implants? What should I learn? It's like, dude, just look at your patients. If your patients are all old and poor in a trailer park and want dentures, go dentures and implants.
You got
if your
it.
patient, you know, just create a supply of what your customers are demanding and quit trying to be a dentist in Beverly Hills when you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes,
You know,
I
just
agree wholeheartedly.
so I'm going to throw my homies under another bus. So on Dentaltown, somebody's posting, and sometimes you want to know who it is, so you go to their profile and you go to their website. I think seriously, I think I've seen more dental websites than anybody because I'm always looking up these guys.
Yeah.
And you can just tell they were at a convention 10 years ago. They went, you know, they bought a website. They haven't even looked at it since. And all my personal friends in Phoenix, like one of my friends is like an implant legend. But if you went to his website, you'd have no idea. And then I know another guy is big into the AACD. You go to his website, you'd have no idea. I think most dentists' website is 5 to 10 years old. What is your assessment of the average dental website when you look at it?
I will let you take that.
Yeah, we see a lot of bad dental websites, and the hallmarks of sites that I think are going to hold a practice back are sites that are going to, you know, be templated. So if you're picking from, you know, a couple templates and they get spun up in a week, that usually is going to bring a couple other things with it. And really where these sites suffer is in canned content. So both written content and visual content. So, the number one thing, we know that the best type of new patient referral is going to be referral from friend or family. But we still, whenever someone is referred, they're still going to do some research. They're going to read reviews online. They're going to go to your website. And a lot of that is to try to put a face to the name. Who is this person that's going to be digging in my mouth? What does this space look like? Am I going to feel comfortable? And so if they go on a website that really doesn't showcase that at all, you don't see the space.
Or is a headshot from the doctor from like 10 years ago. They're clearly way older than that, or it doesn't show who they are as a human being or who the staff is.
I don't do a 10-year-old website on my website. I do a 40-pound lighter headshot.
There you go. So that for me is the number one thing. So if you're looking at your website and you feel that there's stock images, people aren't, they don't get a sense for the space or the team, that's a sign that maybe you can work with the website you have and just update that content. The analogy I like to use is if you're going out for dinner on a Friday night and you hear a good thing about a restaurant, you go on their website and there's a stock image of the space and stock images of the food, it builds no trust and credibility. And so you're going to gravitate towards a place that you see what that experience is going to be like. So, that's something that we look for right off the bat. In addition, one of the things that people have talked about a lot over the last couple of years is mobile responsiveness, because we increasingly know that, people are looking on their phones and tablets and other devices more and more. So that's really important. I would say anyone that's making serious websites in the marketing space right now should be doing mobile responsive sites. That's just a no-brainer. And if your site isn't, Google's algorithm changed, I think, was it last April or, somewhere in that range, where it's increasingly penalizing you, in search results. So if you have an older site, you're not going to show up as well. The last thing I would say when it comes to, not just having canned photos, which is not good because it doesn't create a good experience, having canned content. A lot of companies, because they don't want to take the time to write unique content for each of their clients' websites, they'll just use a library of content that is recycled over and over and over again. And so if you think about how search engines work, they're trying to find the best resource for someone when they search for, let's say, dental implants or same-day crowns or any number of terms. And if they see websites that have the same content over and over and over again, that's not going to help them be a good resource. And so you stay a little bit further down. So for all of those reasons, we recommend really looking at building your site in a way that's unique and helps you stand out.
Well, and I think too, many of these like templatized sites that have canned content, they are very prescriptive. They don't take into account the actual reader on the other side of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, here is what a dental crown is. Well, if I need a crown, I want to kind of know what the crown is, but I want to know, is it going to hurt? How long is it going to take? Is it going to make me anxious?
Will the color
Can
match?
I get sedation? Will the color match?
Yep.
Those are the things that people want to know as consumers. They don't want to know about the intricacies of the procedure. That's what the dentist is there for.
The number one most visited page outside of the homepage on most dental websites that we look at the analytics for is the About page. And then after that, it's going to be either the patient resources or the testimonials page. So people are trying to learn about the practice and the people, and they don't need a step-by-step of the procedure.
And I want to interject another business lesson into what you're talking about. You're talking about Google. You've already said the word Google like 10 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Google is always getting harassed by Wall Street investors, yay or nay. Basically, they still make almost all their revenue from search. And they've year after year after year, they'll lose $500 million a year investing in all these other businesses, and they never really seem to ever pan out. And then the next time they report earnings again, it's still almost all their money is from search. And so dentists are doing fillings and crowns and root canals, and that's not working. So they think they're going to go into sleep apnea or Invisalign or some other, they're going to do it on TMJ. And I was like, dude, last year, not even 1% of your revenue was TMJ. And now you're on a 6-week course. And then I look at last year, not even 0.5% was from ortho. And now you're going to some Invisalign course. Focus on search. You're a dentist. You have cleanings. You have a hygiene department. You have fillings and crowns and stuff. If you can't crush it on your core competency, like Google crushes it on search, and I personally think Google throws away way too much money on all these superfluous ideas, which are really cool and sexy, But at the end of the day, they cost $500 million, which
Hmm.
all could have been profit given to their stockholders. So stick to your core business. I want to get specifics. This is Dentistry Uncensored. What percent? I know my homies. They only want more new patients. They don't want any of the details. They're only calling you because
Right.
they're dentists. They want to do more fillings and crowns and root canals. So they're going to call you up and say, "I want more new patients." Can you really look at them and say, "I can deliver you 10 more a month, 20 more a month"? I mean, so for people listening to you, if they went to your website right now, wonderistagency.com, can they just call you up and say, "Hey, dude, I need it, I'm paying all my bills, everything's great, but if I just had 10 more patients a month," or let's say they're not paying their bills, they say, "I need 20 new patients a month." Can you
Yeah.
deliver that?
I think it depends on a lot of stuff. So when we get on a sales call with somebody who prospective or wants to work with us, prospective client, we ask a lot of questions. And I think that's probably something that doesn't happen with a lot of our competitors. We ask hard questions. We say, what have you done in the past? What did that look like? How did it bring you new patients? What was your experience? How many patients are you getting now? How many patients did you get last year? How big is your office? What services do you offer? What insurance do you take? Do you take Medicare? Do you take Medicaid?
And what are your goals?
And what are your goals and objectives? Like what kind of 10 patients do you want? If you are an office that just needs bodies in the door, yeah, we can do that. If you are somebody who wants 10 sleep apnea patients or 10 full mouth reconstructions, $30,000 cases, then that's a bigger conversation.
So, I mean, I think to answer your question directly, the answer is yes, but it starts with a conversation about goals. And what we can do is we can come back with a prescription for what it's going to take. And this is where, if we come in your practice that has said, we've been struggling with our reviews, we've got a, 2.5 review on Yelp, we've cycled through some people on the front desk, we've had some insurance issues, it's really hurt us. We really want to do, we want 30 more new patients coming in the door. We can absolutely put a plan together that's going to do that for you. But, you're going to have to follow some steps. One, we're going to have to do something that's a targeted push as far as, rebuilding that reputation. And then we're going to recommend a couple other areas that are just going to make the phone ring for you. And that's for me where tracking is so important. So, two of the things that we do every month, we ask our clients for their new patient numbers. So, hopefully you're using a good practice management tool that lets you easily export and sort of cut these numbers. But we want to see new patients by referral source, preferably with a 30-day production so we get a little quality score. And
we ask for monthly production, monthly collection, days open,
right,
and total patients seen.
Slow down, Spanky. Say that again.
We ask for new patients, total patients seen, production, collections, and total days open that month. And production by referral and source.
So why would you want to collect all that data when if you want to make your website explode, you just got to go to Africa and shoot a lion?
Well, yeah, when it comes to building backlinks, if you want to have an effective backlink strategy, go take up hunting in other countries.
I want to shoot Cecil's cousin.
But the key thing for us is if we're putting marketing dollars into campaigns, we should see new patient growth, and ideally we should see patients self-identifying as coming from those channels. Now that's not a perfect correlation, which is why we also pair this with call tracking. Call tracking is a great tool for marketers. I really think, again, this is one of those things that if you're listening and you haven't used call tracking in marketing, or it's something that you've moved away from, it's really valuable because it lets us tie phone calls, tie leads, tie new patients back to the actual source. And this goes back to what I was saying early on. Not everything we do as marketers is going to work, but we can pretty quickly determine where our new patients are coming from, and we can focus more of our attention and more of our marketing spend in those areas to then help us meet the goals that we set out originally. So to bring this back to sort of what you asked, this is what we do every day. We talk to our clients, we understand what their new patient goals are or what their case goals are, because it is totally fair. We have some clients that say, listen, I'm happy with my new patient numbers. I just got a CEREC machine. I want to start using it. And so, that now becomes our goal. And we're able to every month, watch how people respond to the marketing campaigns we have and look at those new patient numbers and growth and change our strategy so that we hit those numbers. So that's
most of my new patients are come from first and second cousins wanting free dentistry.
Yeah,
And
well,
I built a
the way to
big
build a
practice
business.
of free family dentistry. What call tracking software vendors do you do that? Do you recommend someone else do that? And do those call trackers, do they also tape the phone call?
Yeah, so we use a product called CallRail. There's other ones out there, call tracking metrics. A lot of them are very similar. They provide really good reporting. We use CallRail. One of the reasons we do that is it does provide a HIPAA compliant platform, so that's really important for us when they do the call tracking.
And is that for the whole U.S. or just out there in Cali where you're at?
No, whole U.S.
The whole U.S.
What about the Canadians?
I don't know about the Canadians. That's a great question. I'll have to ask them.
Yeah, no one cares about Canada anyway. So just,
Yeah, we don't have any Canadians. So.
I think we have 9,000 registered dentists on Dentaltown from Canada. Isn't that amazing? Canada is the same size as California in people and number of dentists and GDP.
Huh.
That's crazy.
It's just two mirror images. Okay, so back to specifics. What does this cost? If my homies went to wonderistagency.com, and I love your name, Wondrous. Is it a play on wonderful or wonderful's best or
I would like to tell you it means something, but it just was made up. I was traveling a lot at the time, and it was originally Wanderist, but nobody could figure that out, and so it just changed into Wonderist.
Were you drinking at the time? That's what I want to know.
Heavily,
right on. So so my homies listen to you. Okay, I want to get more to specifics. What % of the time when they call you? Do you have the bias that I do? You look at their website and you're like, dude, what % of the time do you just say you need an entire new website, % existing clients?
I think a lot of times the dentists that we increasingly work with are younger. They're interested in having really good marketing that really speaks to the brand and the space that they've already invested a lot in, and so for a lot of those dentists, we're starting from scratch, but we are really flexible in the way that we approach things because we've heard every story. We've had people that have invested $20,000 in a website that took 5 years to build, and the minute it launched, it is already obsolete. And it's really tough to come back and say, hey, listen, you got to build a new site. And so we want to work with what people have. So we really work hard to do that. I think that a lot of times when people are reaching out to us, it's because they know that their marketing is struggling. And the website is usually one of the big calling cards that we want to focus on getting right. So here's the big thing that I would encourage people to think about. We build all of our websites through WordPress. WordPress is a great platform in that it's stable, it's flexible. The way that we build sites, you own them. And the cool thing is if you decide we're a bunch of jerks or you want to take up a hobby and you want to work on your own site, you have all of that access. The biggest mistake that we see is when people build websites through a proprietary platform that one company owns, and then you're locked in. So every change that you need made is something you have to go back to them to do, and it's $100 here, $300 there. People stop using their sites because they get really demoralized through this. And so, that's where, for me, if people have a WordPress website already, that's something that we can usually work with and we can really build around. But if you're coming to us and you have a website that was built through a proprietary platform, often that means that we're looking at starting over and building you a WordPress website that's really going to let you grow for a while and feel comfortable that
Is WordPress owned by Microsoft since they obviously have Word? Is that a Microsoft product?
No, I don't think WordPress is owned by Microsoft. It's its own entity. So it's and one thing that sometimes people get confused about is, people always think about WordPress blogs. And so you can build your own WordPress blog, but WordPress is actually a platform. So if you've heard of Squarespace, there's certainly other ones out there, Wix. WordPress is just like that. It's a platform that's very supported in that it has a lot of people building cool add-ons that you can use. So it's modular. It's a really powerful platform. You can build just about any kind of website you want on it. E-commerce websites, news websites. Certainly, I think appropriate for small business websites like dental websites. So that's our platform of choice.
So I'm going to throw a weird question at you. What is better, to have a rockin' hot website that gets all this organic search engine optimization, or just say, screw it, I'm just going to spend the money and do Google AdWords. I'm just going to pay for it. It seems like whenever you do a search on Google, the first 3 or 4 choices are paid position ads instead of trying to earn to be on the first page of when I search Awatuki Dentist.
I think I mean, at the end of the day, I think that it's better to have a website that, really represents your practice, because again, part of the time, what's going to happen is people are going to hear about you from either another marketing campaign or from a friend, family member, team member at work, and they're going to research you. And so you want to create an experience for them where when they go to your website, you get them excited and stop their search. They say, okay, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling. So I think the website is really kind of the best place to do that. And over time, if you also pair that with some good search engine optimization, that can get you to a point where you are well placed for people to find you organically, which I think everybody by and large still recognizes as a more credible way to find people. Now, where paid search is important, if you're just starting out, you just built a beautiful website, if people get there, they're going to love what you're talking about, but you don't want to sit on your hands for 6 months while you move up in ranking. Paid search can be a really effective way to bridge that gap. Or if there are really competitive search terms, again, you want to focus on dental implant cases. It can be a really good way in a competitive market to make sure that you have some of that top share. Also, a new thing that Google's rolled out in the last couple months, really in the new year, is you can also now place ads in the map section. So when we think about Google search, there's three parts of it. At the top, in the traditional sort of search area, there's the ads, which you're referring to. Then below that, there's the map section, which we call the 3-pack. It's going to show 3 listings, the top 3 listings locally, and then you can click and see more. When you click and see more, it will now let you put ads in that sort of local map section. And then below the ads, the map, we're going to have our sort of traditional Google listing. So I would say really make sure that you have a solid website. That's something that all of your campaigns go back to. And then if you really feel like you want to push traffic there or you really want to highlight a specific service, AdWords can be a really nice pairing with that.
So will you help them go to this call rail for the call tracking, or is this something that they need to contact them themselves? Or
No, we can work with you to set all of that up.
so you do that? Okay. So then this is Dentistry Uncensored, so let's get nitty gritty. What does it cost you to build me a website?
Yeah, so as with many companies, there's a range. We really focus on personalized sites, so we're not a one-size-fits-all. We have 2 types of sites that we build. Our roots are really in custom websites. So, for that, we start from scratch. We do a discovery call with you. We build a sitemap. We build a wireframe, which is kind of like a blueprint for a house. You lay out content. And then we go and we actually build a design before we ever build the site, which means you get a lot of input into saying, hey, listen, I know I kind of thought I wanted this, but can we change the button structure or where content's going?
But what if he's listening to you right now and he's driving into work and he's saying, yeah, but I never got into that photography thing. I don't even have any pictures.
Yep. And so when we first started, we were totally focused on custom sites. And we had those exact conversations. People would say, hey, listen, I don't have those photos, or, what, I just really don't have those opinions. I don't really know. That's why I'm calling you. So the other type of site that we build is a semi-custom site. And what that means is you get a look at a portfolio of sites that we've built. And if you look at one of those and say, man, I think that site is 75% what I want, but I want it to, feel more like me. I want to make some changes, move things around. We really are able to personalize it for you in a way that it's not a template. It's something that's uniquely yours. And so that shaves out some of that initial work that we have to do, the wireframing, the full design. So there's cost savings there, and it also speeds the process up. So
what is the cost of the custom versus the semi-custom?
Right. So, again, we'll do 5-page, 10-page, 15-page plus. On the low end for a semi-custom, we're looking at somewhere in the, low 2000s. On the high end for a custom website, and that's that would be for like a 5 or 10-page site. On the low end for a custom website that's a 5 or 10-page site, we might be looking at 4,500. So there's definitely a range. And on the high end, if we're looking at a 15-page custom website, it's going to be $6,500.
And you know what I've been hearing a lot on Dentaltown, and I'm still out in the field a lot. I mean, I lecture every week somewhere. I mean, I was in Kansas City last week. I was in Cleveland week before. I know I was talking to some dentists in Kansas City and Cleveland where they built a rockin' hot, awesome site. And, when I was your age, only rich people flew or in business. And then Southwest Airlines come along, and cut all the costs. So now poor people fly, and they can't. They put up like a bunch of like implant cases,
Right.
and they're getting out of state people, or they're getting like they might be in Kansas City and they're having people fly from Wichita or driving in from Iowa. And what they don't realize is that their dentist does that. I mean, these dentists are telling me, this one dentist was telling me that a guy who has his MAGD and his diplomat in implants, who is a better implant than his patient, flew to Kansas City and had him do this whole rehab deal because she saw it on the website. I mean, seeing is believing, and so many Americans in rural markets think, well, how could the best plastic surgeon be in Salina, Kansas? Wouldn't he have to be in Dallas or Kansas City or LA or something like that? So these websites can pay for themselves on one case.
Yeah. We have a gentleman, we're actually starting a custom website for him right now. Very interesting practice. A low patient group or active patient base by comparison to his production, because he gets cases like that from all over the place all the time. It's incredible.
And I mean, for me, what that speaks to is really showcasing what's unique about a practice. And that could be, the beautiful space itself. That could be the team. A lot of times it's going to be before and afters. And so making sure you have a before and after gallery. Here's a couple things that we really recommend. And this goes back to something you said earlier. Dentists really like practicing dentistry, of course. And so the things that a dentist are going to look for in a before and after are often different than what a consumer might. So, maybe avoid those spreader photos that make it look like, it's out of Alien and Predator, or the shots where there's still blood all over the gums. What we really like to recommend, if you get permission from the patients, is, connect a face with the case, and, check your state laws. Sometimes this will vary from state to state, but if this is something you're able to do and you have patient permission, making sure you show the patient before and after with the whole face, and then try without the spreaders and without blood to really show that before and after photo. One thing we do on a lot of our sites is we actually make this a story. One of the biggest mistakes that we see people make is dentists will put up the before and after photo and they assume that we as the consumer know what that means. It's really nice to actually let someone actually see what the case was and have a little description, because people will see themselves in that case. And so, take that extra minute to say what the case was and describe it. I think that can really help.
And I think that'd be extra important, especially if you two are building a site for like a proctologist. I mean, you just wouldn't want those cheek spreaders in there. That's
you really
just too. That's too close. I want to go on another thing. One thing I disagree with you guys on in marketing in general, the only thing I disagree with is dentists, like, they're trying to get like cosmetic cases, or they're trying to get implant cases. I don't even like that business. I mean, I'm a doctor. When you're in an emergency room, could you imagine going to the emergency room and you broke your leg and you walked in there and say, we don't do legs. We just do arms. I mean, I'm a doctor for Ahwatukee, and I just want bodies. You said earlier, you want bodies, I want bodies. And then when those bodies are coming in, if a lot of them need this, I'll go learn that for the last 30 years. I got my FAGD, my MAG. I'm your doctor. I want bodies, and my goal was to lower the disease missing and filled teeth rate of my community. I mean, first thing I did in '89 was get fluoride in the water, and then it was a 20-year law and expired, and then we had to go back and get it again. I'd rather have my hygienist in the second grade classes teaching those kids how to brush and floss, because all the research shows that behavioral change, especially if the mother's involved, where the father statistically doesn't show up, because half the kids in America are in a single family house, that if you go in there and teach those kids how to brush and floss, the DMFT goes down. Not the fluoride treatment analysis, but I just like that. I just think it's you run a hospital, you have people that, you say you're in a small town of Parsons, Kansas. I mean, whatever little human walks in your door needs you. You know what I mean? And I just think that. So I want to ask you another question. If you had to pick between Facebook ad and Google ads, where would your bias be?
Well, before we do, I just want to jump back to what you said for one.
Oh, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't interrupt me
at
at all.
I do all day long.
I guess, we agree with that 100%. And I think some of the best practices that we increasingly see taking a whole body approach to dentistry. And that's been eye-opening for me. I'd really compliment, our dentist in San Diego. I'll give them a shout out. The Strummers, Fantactus Practice, New Image Dental. They really take this whole body approach and do a risk assessment when people come in. And for me, what's cool about that is that, if you're prone to cavities, they'll say, well, listen, do you have acid reflux? If you do, let's focus on putting a plan in place, whether that's with your general doctor or someone else, to treat that. And for me, that's a really transformative idea. And I think what this ties back to from a marketing standpoint is every practice should really strive to find something that differentiates them. I think that's a really exciting thing, that if I'm looking for a dentist, I say, wow, that sounds different to me. And so from a marketing standpoint, that's the kind of thing we try to highlight. So anyway, to your question, Facebook ads and Google ads, that's a really topical question. We get a lot. I think right now Facebook ads is still the king. It's more expensive, but
Facebook?
Did I say Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I meant Google,
like,
Google ads. Google ads is still the king. It's more expensive, but the reason that I think right now it's still the best investment is that you're getting people at a different part of the funnel. When someone is searching for dental implants, cost of dental implants,
Dentist in San Diego,
they are at a point of high motivation to get an answer and to do research. Whereas when people are on Facebook, most people are not logging into Facebook. In fact, I safely can say I think all people are not logging into Facebook to find a dentist that day. It's more of a passive discovery. And so, why we like Facebook is that it's a lower cost. It's great.
Got great targeting.
Great targeting. One of the things that we really like doing is we're able to export patient emails. Again, just emails. We're not attaching any additional information to that, and we're able to target existing patient bases as an audience in Facebook, and we're able to really sort of build that.
So if a dentist has collected, the average dentist has 2,000 patients. So if he's collected 200 or 300 emails, you'd recommend sending those emails to you and having those uploaded in the Facebook ad to target their existing patients who are on Facebook?
A lot of our dentists will have 2,000 to 3,000 emails, and we can take those and match 40 to 60% of those with Facebook users. And then what we can do is we can actually help build your Facebook page and get people to follow that page that are your actual patients, people that actually care about you. And then that starts to create that social referral ripple where they're interacting with content in a way that other people will see that, and maybe they go to work the next day and say, hey, listen, I see it was your hygienist's birthday. You said you love him. I'm looking for a new dentist. Would you recommend him? And that's the kind of thing that we want to inspire.
You know what my thoughts are on this Facebook? Because remember, are you guys even old enough to remember Friendster and MySpace and?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I've seen this rodeo 3 times. The first 2 all crashed and burned. But where I think Facebook could really take it away is, I've learned the most about business by studying the human, the monkey, anthropology, sociology, psychology. How does this because relating to this animal with clothes on is the secret, not learning calculus and physics and geometry. I mean, you're the only animal at the zoo that wears clothes. And when I search Phoenix dentist, Google serves me up a million hits. And not one person on earth is going to go through a million hits. But where I see how monkeys work is if I went to Facebook and I'm afraid of the dentist. Most people are afraid of the dentist or afraid of the cost of the dentist. And I went on my Facebook and I searched Phoenix dentist, and I had 100 friends that I follow. And it said, well, your friend Shirley goes to Dr. Cook. Right. And your friend Michael goes to Dr. I think if Facebook got rid of the million search hits on Google, which has no impact on my life, especially on things that are invisible. Like say I'm a woman and I have to get my car's not acting right, and they don't trust any mechanic on earth. They don't trust used car salesmen or mechanics. And my car's not working. I don't want to take it to some shop and get taken to the cleaners of saying I need a whole new transmission or something. And I searched and they said, well, you actually have the most place used by your friends, 3 of your friends, these 3 friends go to this shop. Then I could call my friend and say, really, do you go to that shop? And then she might add to it, yeah, but make sure you talk to Glenn. He's the good guy. Don't talk to Charlie. The guy's an idiot. And I think social 6 degrees of separation search it could be huge for Facebook. I just think it'd be monstrous.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I agree with that. I think it's a great vision. In a lot of ways, we're seeing that with review networks as well. I mean, Yelp, as complicated as it is from a business perspective, I think from a user perspective, you do see that, and certainly there are other networks that tie that even closer. Nextdoor is one that's really interesting, that's emerging. It's kind of like a neighborhood.
I call it the nosy neighbor website.
It's a nosy neighbor website, but we have.
Are they successful? Is Nextdoor, is it going to make it?
I think so. Right now, they're really focused more from an ad perspective. They're focused more on large corporate ad investment, which I think it's bizarre because their whole thing is local. But we've seen practices that have been able to get people to chime in and say, hey, listen, I really like my dentist. We'll actually get 10, 15, 20 calls the next day. I mean, really
on Nextdoor.
Results. Yeah, Nextdoor.
So you recommend my homies listening to you right now download the app Nextdoor and start getting involved with that?
And talk to the ladies and gentlemen that you have in your office and see if anyone is using it.
You just said something very controversial. If I go to Dentaltown and I do a search for Yelp, every one of those threads is not pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no thread like that about Google or Facebook or whatever, but man, Yelp, it seems like anytime one of my homies talks about Yelp on Dentaltown, it ain't pretty.
It's the necessary evil.
I wouldn't even say necessary. So we have a very love-hate relationship with Yelp. Like I said before, as a user outside of work, I like Yelp.
I'm a big Yelper. I'm an active Yelper.
When it comes to working with our clients and making recommendations for their marketing, for me, it's like doing a deal with the devil. And it's very frustrating because, their algorithm is, I think, skewed against business. It's funny how, you can have a 5-star review put up and it will be taken down because, they don't have enough friends on Yelp, or they just signed up the other day, or all these reasons. But that 1-star review that someone got all upset and worked up and signed in, at 2 a.m. to leave, that somehow stays up. So I think our recommendation, in short, when it comes to Yelp, is if you have a really strong presence, you've got 50 reviews that are all visible, 5 stars. Show off the things that are working for you if you're in an area that's using Yelp. West Coast, obviously an area that Yelp is very popular. So maybe it's worth doing a deal with the devil. Just make sure that the contract doesn't lock you in.
How old are you two?
31.
You're both 31?
We are.
I'm 54. I've never seen a human being use Yelp before. So it must be an age thing, because like when I go drinking with my buddies, I've never heard Mattern or Taylor or someone pull out a deal and say, well, let's do a Yelp review. Is that something that old grandpas just don't do? Is that something that millennials do? I mean, I've seen people get an Uber car. I've seen people buy on Amazon from their phone, but I've never seen a Yelp in action.
I think where Yelp really, where we see the use case scenarios that, we're living in a world that's increasingly transient, right? I mean, 50 years ago, people weren't moving as far away from home. I think the community they lived in was much more sort of obvious and present to them. Laura and I have relocated a couple times, and when you do, you want to, we're foodies. We love to go out, and it's nice to have that sort of core knowledge right away. Or when we were looking for a new dentist, we wanted to see what other people have to say. There's a lot of data. In fact, we just did a talk with RevenueWell a couple weeks ago about the importance of reviews. And there's a lot of data showing that increasingly online reviews are the new referral. So, the number one thing I'll practice.
But is it age skewed? I mean, is it
13
under?
For sure.
What about 16 over?
Yelp maybe more specifically. I think on Google, we see a lot of reviews come through on Google that are people of all ages. But I think for sure, at least
Yelper
for me,
is younger.
Yelp
is younger.
And by younger, what do you mean? 30 and under?
I would extend it beyond that. I think you might be looking at 35, 40. Even 40.
And what percent of Americans over 65 you think use Yelp versus what percent over 65 use Google?
All the cool ones.
All the cool ones. I have no idea.
All the cool ones. That was awesome. So I want to go back to the core, because I know what my homies are thinking. Dude, I just want more new patients. So what would I do? Do I go to Wondrous Agency? .com? Do I call you? Do I email you? What would I do?
You can go to wondrousagency.com. We have a little chat box there. The chat is really me, so you can either leave dirty comments or whatever. You wouldn't believe what I get in there sometimes. And you can get a direct line to me in that chat box, or you can email me at Laura, Laura, .Maly, Maly, at wonderistagency.com, or you can give us a buzz.
I just entered, this is a dirty comment. So
you wouldn't believe the stuff we get on there. And nobody believes me. They think I'm a bot.
Oh,
so it's just, I know, I'm opening it up.
box.
It's going to be Pandora's box for weeks now.
Realistically expected, what is this for your average client? What is the spend going to be? And what is the spend and what is the new patient? Just for your average homie.
It depends on the scope and the practice. It can be as low as, something like $300 a month if we're just doing one service. I will say that everything we do is month to month. We earn your business every month.
No contract?
No contract.
So then why are you getting married? I mean, your business, you have no contract. Then you're telling me you guys are getting married and you're going to get a contract.
I think we may need to reconsider.
My gosh, you're not living your model.
But I would say that the average client is probably spending in the neighborhood of, $1,000 a month with us, and that's not always including the additional marketing spend. But the thing is, we really take the time, as Laura said, to get to know each of our clients in an initial kickoff call where we learn about your practice, because we're going to make different recommendations. If you're in a rural, smaller town, we're not going to recommend AdWords. We're not going to recommend SEO. That may not be something that makes sense. And so we have a whole range. But yeah, I mean, I think if you just wanted dollars and cents, like the average client's going to spend in the neighborhood of $1,000 a month. That's going to include multiple services, maybe social media, search engine optimization, Google AdWords, something like that. And then as far as new patient growth, again, depends on the goals of our clients and the budget that we're spending. Someone that says, I want to do one mailer drop every 3 months versus doing one mailer drop every 2 weeks.
See, knowing my dentist, that I started Dentaltown in '98 because I knew that all the dentists practice alone, and the whole tagline was that I still use 20 years later is, with Dentaltown.com, no dentist has to practice solo again. And by the way, Laura, you have raving fans on Dentaltown. You know how Yelp, it's all negative. Every county I know raves about you, and that's why I called you and you did not call me. This is not some kind of an ad. I mean, really, seriously. But the reason I'm asking these questions, because like right now they're alone. They're driving to work for an hour, and they don't know like they don't even know if they're doing good or bad, because physicians, they go to a hospital, they go to lunchrooms, they'll sit around with 5 internists. All healthcare is group practice because the MRIs and the CAT scans got so expensive that the only way you could buy state-of-the-art equipment is group practice. So this dentist driving, talk to her. She's driving to work and she's thinking, well, what does the average dentist spend on marketing and advertising? I mean, and what is like an A, B, C, D, or an F for new patients? I mean, she's thinking, well, because she might be thinking, well, I get 50 new patients a month, and I think the average gets 200, so she's out of whack, versus, she might think she's getting a D in new patients when actually she's getting an A in new patients. So my question to you is, try to help her see a balanced scorecard. She knows what she's spending as a percent on advertising. What should it be? Should it be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And what is a healthy flow of new patients for a solo practicing dentist with 1 hygienist and 2 assistants in 4 rooms with an emergency room, 5 op, 1 hygienist, 2 assistants, 2 girls up front? What should she be spending on marketing? What kind of new patient flow should she have? Talk to an individual so she can, because you see lots of dentists all over. She just sees her own office.
Yeah, we have, well, the first thing I will say is Michael and I are obviously small business owners too, so we get it. We know what it's like to sometimes go to work and show up and feel like you're alone and not really sure by comparison's sake. And so I would say, if you are feeling lonely or feel like you need to bounce some items or things that are on your mind off of you, we have so much data and information, and, I've worked with so many dentists all over the country. We have an interesting insight, and we also know what it feels like to be small business owners sometimes. And so you can go from being the smartest human in the room to the dumbest human in the room in the matter of like 5 seconds.
Happens every day.
Happens every time. It's a roller coaster. But to answer your question, it's certainly a moving target. I guess I would say for the U.S. average practice, I would say if you are a scratch, I would look at 6 to 8% of production on marketing. If you are, looking at a little decline and you are an established practice, I would be looking at, 2 to 3% on marketing of production. I would say average new patients, without our services, probably in the vicinity of 20 to 25 new patients a month.
So you're probably looking at, I would guess you're looking at a production of, something or collections of
500, 600.
500, 600, getting about 20 new patients a month, something in there. That's a very common conversation that we hear. And then I think the real question is, if you start adding something like, placing implants, or you want to strive to get an associate in, you need to start climbing. That's where you're going to want to bump those new patient numbers and look at something that's, in the 30s or above. A lot of times we're saying, hey, listen, we want to double that new patient growth because we want to pull an associate in.
And the thing I want to qualify on that too is it often matters who's picking up the phone. So we may be able to make the phone ring. And so if we can lead the horses to water, we can't make them drink all the time, which is why we do a lot of call tracking. And also, a great candidate may walk in the door for you, but if you can't close the sale, that's important too. That's important to acknowledge.
Okay, now I want to oh my gosh, I only got you for 5 more minutes. Will you stay a little for overtime?
Sure.
Okay, now I want to go to the dark side. I want to go to the dark side because I don't believe in marketing and advertising because I haven't seen it work. Meaning this, if the average hygienist works 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, she works 2,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So she can see 1,000 people for an hour-long clean, exam, and x-ray twice a year. I go into every dental office in America, they got 5,000 charts, and 4,000 of them they never came back, and they still got one hygienist. So if you're getting this 20 new patients a month, 1,000 patients divided by 20 a month means every 4 years you would add another hygienist. So I go into small little Eloy, Arizona, and this guy's been getting 20 new patients a month, not for 4 years, but for 40 years. And then you know what he says to Laura? Dude, I need new patients. It's like, what do you mean new patients? You've pissed off everyone in Maricopa County. So I want to ask you this. When I look at small businesses, they want all this marketing advertising for new patients. When I look at big business, like everyone's gone to Costco and used a credit card, they're all into loyalty programs. They want to keep existing customers. Dentists want to say, hey, sorry you hate me and I'm an asshole, but I just want a new patient to cover it up. So I think when patients don't come back, you need to find out why. But I was just wondering, is there anything in advertising and marketing and websites and everything you do to try to close the back door and retain patients, a loyalty segment instead of, because I don't think dentists should spend 3, 5, 6, 7% on advertising because Costco spends that money on loyalty.
Yeah.
They only want to talk loyalty programs. Costco says, Walmart says, United Airlines says, everybody in America's been our customer. Like in dentistry, care credit. 95% of all the dentists have care credit.
Right.
They don't want new patients. They want to try to get their existing patients to use care credit.
Yeah, I mean, closing the back door and figuring out why people are leaving is really important. And I mean, this with all seriousness, it could be an aging patient base that they're dying out or they're moving to homes. It could be the fact that there's something happening in the process of your practice that needs to get adjusted or fixed. It could be that you are not doing a great job on your recall. So we work with RevenueWell. We work with a lot of the practice management tools. I'm going to plug RevenueWell hands down. They're amazing. But we work with RevenueWell to make sure that that our clients have a mechanism in place to make sure that their existing patient base is coming back, because that is it's way easier to keep an existing patient than it is to get a new one to walk in the door. That's absolutely true. So we work on that. And then depending on what state you're in and what your regulations are, we have a scope of work that also focuses on we call it account management here, but it focuses on working with the doctors to make sure that they are getting their existing patients to be advocates for their business, either through reviews or talking about it. And that includes internal marketing. So referral raffles or gift cards, or when you make somebody wait in the lobby for 20 minutes because you're running late on a case, can you throw them a $5 Starbucks card and say sorry about it, just so it gives somebody a feel-good mechanism.
I think, the other thing that you brought up is, it's a weird industry in that increasingly we have people talking about membership plans, which we're totally in favor of, and we think it's a great thing. And obviously everybody increasingly is looking for fee-for-service patients, but the industry is still dominated by questions about insurance. And so that makes this tough in that, if someone's insurance changes, that they may have had a great experience with you, but all of a sudden they're leaving just because of that. So I think insurance is really a problem in that people treat insurance in dentistry the way they treat it in the medical
Is
space.
the problem or your attitude about the problem? Because when I look at retail, it's going to a bigger selection for lower prices. That's why Amazon is
Right.
now worth more than the publicly traded stock of Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, all combined.
Right.
Amazon's worth more. So what's going forward is patients want a bigger selection for lower prices, which is why 82% of the dentists take PPOs.
Right.
And the dentist says, oh, no, 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 no. I want to go back in time to where patients want a smaller selection for higher prices. And you might as well, you're probably going to get a telegram that that's going to come true. And it's going to be delivered by the tooth fairy riding a unicorn. And, if you want to dream about patients coming in and paying in cash for the highest price in town, I mean, I don't think that's very realistic.
Every practice is different. We do have some practices that have successfully done that, and for me, hats off to them. That's the dream, and they're living it. But
and what percent of your practices have been able to do that?
It's a smaller percent for sure, and I think it's a smaller percent.
How
probably
small?
In the 10% or less.
Okay, so 10% can do it.
I would also say that probably 60 to 70% of the practices we work with, on some level, are chasing that. That is, if you bring it back to Dentaltown and you think about what people are looking at, and what threads they're reading. We always see these threads that are popular about how do I convert to, fee-for-service practice. That's something that is really popular. So, I mean, I think the only other thing that I would add to what Laura said is that, we do see an increasingly changing environment in that we have more transient populations. Some practices may have more aging populations. And the important thing to do is to understand what your practice is, and then put steps in place to really counterbalance that if you need to. There's always a place for new patients in marketing. You just have to understand your practice and know if that's something that's right for you.
Okay, I got to go back. I got to stay in overtime. Are you good for just a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just plugged the computer in.
You said the word revenue well at least 3 times. I'm sure there's 1,000 people who have never even heard of that word. What is revenue well, and why do you keep mentioning it?
Revenue well is a patient management tool. Its competitive set would be Lighthouse. What am I thinking?
Opera DDS.
Solution Reach, Opera DDS. Those are kind of the competitive set, just to give you some perspective.
Demand Force.
Demand Force. And the reason that we really like them is they are one of the only ones that can basically connect your production to your emails that you're sending, which is really cool.
It plugs into your practice management tool. But here's the takeaway: we're not shilling for revenue well any more than some of these others. It's really, if you don't have a patient management tool in place that automates the text to remind, automates some of these emails, you really should. It's going to save time for the front desk. So that's the takeaway. It's whether it's revenue well, Lighthouse 360, Opera DDS. The Solution Reach, those are all tools that can really help your practice. Find one that fits you.
Now, do they need to call revenue well, or do you help them set that up?
We can help facilitate that.
We can help facilitate that, but obviously, if you want to reach out to Revenue Well, they've got great reps that'll help walk through the process and talk about the tool. Again, same thing for Solution Reach, same thing for Opera DDS. So the key thing is find one that works for you and make sure that you're taking a little bit of that load off of your front desk. And use that automation. It's going to help with your recall. It's really truly going to help with recall.
Everybody in the industry says that all these women dentists, half the class, they all just want to be an employee in corporate, and then you go to the corporate world and they say their average employee quits after a year. They say that they all want to work for somebody else, and I don't. I always look back at the last 2 million years, because I can look back at a 2 million year old sapien and tell you what's not going to change. They don't like checks and balances. They don't like anybody telling them what to do. They want to live in their own cave. They want to eat their own food. They want to believe what they want to believe. They want to live in a bubble. And when you come over from the next cave and tell them that something in their bubble is not true, they don't like it. So she's working right now at corporate, and she's got her eye on a retail space. She wants to go in there. She needs a website name, should she go to GoDaddy? Is that something where she should realize she's trained in root canals, and she call you for a logo, a brand, a website name? I mean, does the website name, like my name was Today's Dental. if it was, and my motto is yesterday's dentistry at tomorrow's prices. And, but that was a joke. Get it? Yesterday's dentistry at tomorrow's prices. But should she just go buy that URL on GoDaddy, or is the logo and the brand and the name a serious part of the equation, a serious part enough where she should run it by marketing experts?
I absolutely think it is, because it's so from this standpoint, one of the most powerful marketing pieces you're going to have is your sign, the street visibility that you have, and hopefully you find a practice that has good street visibility. And so we used to live in LA. You drive around LA. I can't tell you how many dental practices have dentist as their name. That's what it is. It doesn't communicate anything. And so I think it's important to find a brand that, one, you're excited to go into work for, because at the end of the day, this is your baby. And two, it's something that, helps build clout in the community. Here's a little piece of advice, and this is something we've done with a lot of our clients. You can brand yourself, and find a brand that really works for you. A lot of people gravitate towards their name. One thing to think about there is that if you're already thinking about selling down the road, that's a tougher thing to transfer. You may want to come up with something that's a little more agnostic. I'm going to highlight a practice that we worked with that I thought we did kind of a cool job with. There's a practice in Wisconsin, in West Dallas, that we branded Third Coast Family Dental. So, it's on Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is the third coast. So really cool name. I really love it. But when it came to the website, we came up with a really boring website name. It's West Dallas, Wisconsin, West Dallas, WI Dentist.com. And the reason that we did that is because that has a lot of SEO value. When you are typing, a lot of people are going to search for West Dallas Dentist. And Google is going to start parsing through things and saying, how do I find the best resource? When you have West Dallas Dentist in your URL, that helps bring that up to the top. And so that's where we can really sort of help navigate those waters and find a URL for you that's also going to position you really well right off the bat. The other thing that we've done is we have, obviously, their vanity URL, thirdcoastfamilydental.com, redirect back to the core URL, which is westdallaswisconsin.com. That may be a little technical, but that's an example of the kind of strategy that we would use to make sure that you both have a brand you love and something that's positioned well digitally to make your website succeed.
So here's what I know is a fact. These dentists will go do a marketing deal. They'll do a direct mail piece. They'll say it didn't work because they don't know how many phone calls it generated versus how many their receptionists converted to come on in. And a lot of people say the untrained receptionist takes 4 new patient calls to convert 1 patient in the chair. And so instead of doubling your marketing to have 8 people call to get 2 people in the chair, you could work on your receptionist to convert half of those. So you gave the name, what was it, call tracker? Or
Call
How can I can't tell this dentist stuff that when you're back there doing a root canal, build up and crown. I feel like for an hour I'm Stevie Wonder picking a lock with these little files trying to fill all the canals, and I'm totally oblivious to everything. You are literally eyes closed picking a lock. They have no idea how the receptionist answers the phone. They have no idea how many of the incoming calls go to voicemail. They can't tell you how many of the calls that went to voicemail that someone even listened to, let alone return the call. So how could you double the effectiveness of their marketing budget by having it go from taking 4 people to convert 1 in the chair to maybe 4 people call and you get 2 or 3 to come in the chair?
Yeah.
How do you close that loop?
So first of all, we like to listen to calls and we like to identify when there are problems. And if there are problems, again, it's not an opportunity to scold someone or to say, hey, you're doing a terrible job. It's an opportunity to help them grow. I do the United approach. I beat them and then drag them out of their chair all the way out the front door. To each their own. But we're big believers in focusing on what we do really well. And I think we do marketing and design and campaigns really well. I'm going to plug someone else here. Laura Hatch from Front Office Rocks. I know someone that you've talked to. Yeah. Just a fantastic program, really affordable. Because the alternative to that, and there are some really great alternatives. Pulling in some. What's your program for teaching the front office to convert more calls? Yeah, so she's got you can go to frontofficerocks.com. It's going to really be a course, an online course, a video course that you can have your front office team watch. And, she's a total pro at it. She's been working the front office for years, has a fantastic team. She knows her stuff. She also does live seminars that you can check out as well. But I think it's a great program at a really affordable price for people that are saying, yeah, I don't have the time or I don't have the expertise and I'm not ready to write that big check to a consultant.
But you have to record them because the research from retail is if I put a hidden camera above the cash register, stealing, embezzlement drops. If I'm recording the phone calls, you're not talking to your best friend Sally for an hour about your date last night. I mean, just the fact that you're recording changes all their behaviors. So you recommend that call rail for recording?
I like CallRail. Make sure that you talk to them to get a HIPAA compliant solution there, because that is something that they do offer. I think, again, for the industry owner, that's very important. But it gives you the ability to, one, identify where the calls come from. And I'll take a second here to talk about something cool. It's not just it came from a mailer or it came from your website. You can install, or your website company can install a little piece of code on your website so you can see whether someone came from Facebook, whether someone came from Google Organic, whether someone came from Google Paid. So you get all this granular data to actually say which of these campaigns is working, and then you can listen to the calls to see, one, are they good leads, and two, did my team close them effectively? To bring this back to what we talked about sort of at the beginning, the reason we love this so much is, like we said, not every marketing campaign that we touch is going to be a success. We want to use this tool to figure out what's working and what's not quickly, so we can focus on the stuff that really helps drive new patients.
Dang, I just went to Front Office Rocks, the leader in dental front office solutions, and the tweet was 4 hours ago, free 1 hour live with Laura webinar training starting in less than 10 minutes. So my question is, do I retweet this when it's 3 hours and 50 minutes late to her webinar? Only one more day. Ability is what you're capable of. Join us this Wednesday, May 10th at 9 a.m. I missed that. Sorry for her. Do you guys talk to her very much?
Yeah, she's actually another San Diego native, or not native, but she's someone who's a resident, and so she's someone that we've been very lucky to be able to go and hear talk and work with as well. So we really like the work that she does.
Well, I'll retweet it even though it's a dud. But the reason I like to retweet it is because a lot of the homies are on Twitter, and when I retweet something, I'm talking in a podcast or listening in their car, they can go to Twitter and see what I tweeted to get the person I'm talking to. I retweeted both of your names, but I don't think you guys are big Twitter guys.
No.
I mean, I think I retweeted something from both of you from 2015, but my homies know that if they wanted to get their contact, your website or whatever, because they shouldn't be taking notes while they're driving, listening to Dentistry Uncensored, unless they're drinking.
Yep, don't.
Because when you drink and drive, you're good enough to take notes and tweet. Ask me how I know. Last question.
Sure.
She's working at corporate. You have it's all technology, this call tracker, your website, all this stuff like that. Do you deal with practice management information systems? I mean, do you prefer a Dentrix, an EagleSoft, an Open Dental, a Soft Dent? Do you think any of those are better for her when she starts her system?
I can tell you what I think we can pull reports from very easily, or if we're asking questions and to help us get to the bottom of things quickly. EagleSoft. I'm totally blanking on the two right now.
Dentrix, Open Dental.
Sorry. Eagle, Open, and not Dentrix. Dentrix is like I've never. What is the other one?
I can't think of it.
I'm getting. I don't know. I'm sorry.
But
I'm blanking.
You like EagleSoft? You like Open Dental?
Yeah, when we start asking questions, if a doctor's like, oh, my favorite one is, hey, we didn't get a lot of new patients this month, and then I'm like, well, can you pull your reporting for me? And then I realized that they were on vacation for 2 weeks, and it's like, well, no kidding, your new patient numbers are low, bro.
And the other problem is they, like say when you go into any real business, like say Hertz Rent-A-Car or the Marriott, it's a process. There's like 6 things they go through to check you in. There's like 3 things to check you out. But what the great geniuses of dentistry did is put on 85,000 features on the practice manager site that 85% of all the dentists have never used once. Right. So then when it comes to who may we thank for referring you, or how did you find our office, that never gets done. When if you were at another business, you'd have to ask that. And if you didn't ask that, you couldn't go to the next step.
Right.
Yeah. So, I wish those practice managers would just get meanly. In fact, someone just needs to say screw it and start a new one from scratch.
One thing that's really cool that we've started to really utilize a little more is a company called Practice by Numbers. And it's sad. It's sad that they have to exist. But basically what they've said is, hey, listen, these practice management tools are so complicated. Even though they may have all this stuff in there, most people don't feel comfortable pulling reports. So practice by numbers is a layer that integrates with, I think, all of the tools that we talked about. And so it lets you really, in a great dashboard, see the numbers that are meaningful for your business, and in many ways meaningful for us. And so that's something that we really would recommend. If you do feel like you don't have visibility to your practice numbers, first of all, that you should stop right there and get visibility to those core numbers that really, tell you how your practice is doing, and either do that in the tool that you already have or look at something like Practice by Numbers.
It's Practice by Numbers, but the website is actually just Practice Numbers. All right.
I'm going to take you at your word on that one. I don't have it pulled up.
But hey, I just want to tell you, you went into overtime. Thank you so much for talking to my homies today. I think what you said is very informative, and you guys, you just have to outsource this stuff. The problem with the dentist is you just want to do dentistry, and you got to wear all these hats. You got to be an HR person, deal with your CPA, your accountant, and now marketing is a website. It's SEO. It's just too much. And now we have 12% of the market is being delivered by corporate dental chains that have 50 or more locations in multiple states. They're not kidding around with anything these guys have been talking about. They're dead serious about all the business side of it. So I don't know how you wear all the hats unless, like when I grew up in Kansas, all the millionaires who own dairy farms and wheat farms, they were 20%. Those were the 20% where dad was on a tractor and mom was sitting at the kitchen table with a calculator doing all the business. The other 80% of the farmers, the mom was having 8 Catholic kids and making cookies and going to all these school events, and they struggled. So you either married to a business partner or you outsource it and get a rocking hot office manager that's trained in like FADOM or something like that, or you just start outsourcing stuff where that was your business model where you put it all under one hat, where you just call them up and have a long conversation, get a long-term plan, and say, okay, this is the percent of production I'm going to give you. You're going to do it all, and then you can go back to doing your root canal like Stevie Wonder.
Yep. I mean, find a tribe you love, find the mechanism that works for you. We are here to listen. We love to help our dentists. We love to get to know them personally, which is important to us. And if you need a marketing crew, we are full service. So.
And on Dentaltown, what percent of the dentists would you say are completely batshit crazy?
I don't know. 10%. Well, I've gotten trolled real hard on there. Like maybe a year ago, I got trolled real hard, and I was like, dude, step off. Go somebody else.
Remember when you're on Dentaltown, a lot of people say, well, I have free speech. Dude, that's between you and your government, you idiot. The Constitution is between your government. When you're in Dentaltown, it is private property. It is my house. I own the entire thing. I have no partners, and I have a report abuse button, and I have a bunch of volunteers. And when you're listening to this, when you're on Dentaltown and you see something that's not pretty, and it might not even be your own post, you can just feel sorry for someone else. Hit the report abuse. And instantly, that post will go to a bunch of moderators, and we ban people all the time because some people are just not in a good place. They're unhappy. They're going through a divorce. They're going bankrupt. They wish they would have been a plumber like their brother. And you're not going to take out all your anxiety on Dentaltown by trolling. We take troll, and Twitter is now growing again. Twitter was contracting because of trolls. And they finally figured out, the CEO went public with it and said, wow, we did not realize. And the bottom line is, it's real simple. When you make people feel bad, they leave. And when you talk down to a patient and make them feel bad because they came into your office eating Funyuns, drinking a Mountain Dew, and need a root canal, they don't need to be made feel bad. You need to lead them by making them feel better. And
right.
On Dentaltown, if you ever see something that's not making you feel better, hit the report abuse. But hey, I just want to tell you, if you had half as much fun as I did on this podcast, you had a rocking hot time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.